Hello. I thought we might as well get started. Hello, I am Owen. I will be your workshop leader for tonight. I want to welcome you all to the Unity workshop, which is the final of our 4 workshops before our game jam tomorrow. Now, I'm as excited as you guys all are. I'm excited to see what everyone comes up with. Tonight is all about taking everything that's been learned from the music, the 2D art, the 3D art, whichever art you're going to be working with, and taking that and putting it into a game. So I will be teaching the Unity editor, which is a very well used and very popular game engine. The plan tonight is to try and make a game in the next hour and a half or 2 hours. So it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a longer one than some of the other ones. And yeah. So I'm excited to show you guys what I have got planned and to get going. So first off, some people are talking about if my PC is blue screening. My PC is not blue screening anymore. It was earlier this week, and I was bricking it for tonight. So no, it is not anymore, but it was, and that was fun. But it's not now. So, yep, that's a positive. So I'll take you over to my screen. So I have 2 screens. So if you see me looking over here, I'm looking at you guys at the chat. If you see me looking here, I'm looking at what you guys can see. So if you open Unity Hub, which is the main Matthew, just because I was mean during yours doesn't mean you can be mean to me during mine. So if you open Unity Hub, which is the way that it manages Unity installs on your projects, you would come to this screen. Obviously it wouldn't have GoDev Workshop that I loaded up in before time, because that would have taken a good 10 minutes, and you will learn that. Also, Unity, you can get multiple different versions. You can add a version here if you need to install a new version. I would recommend, so you can see I'm already a version behind. Before the game jam starts, install the latest version of Unity or any version of Unity. Otherwise, you will spend the good first hour and a half waiting for Unity to install. Please, I beg of you, do not do this to yourself. You will regret it. So you can see I'm not using the latest version. There are some bugs in the in this current version that I'm on that were just fixed and patched out. Some of them I have already had to deal with. But hopefully, with 2020.1.7.7 F1, you won't have any of these bugs. So what you will then do is you'll come into projects, and you would go new. Now this then opens this screen, which sometimes weirdly takes a bit of time, mainly because I'm not on the latest version of the hub. You can put in a project name, the location you want it to be. So I have a whole bunch of projects, which is why I have desktop projects games. Then you can choose 2D, 3D, high definition render pipeline, which is HDRP, if I refer to that, or the universal render pipeline, which is URP. I will not be using either HDRP or URP, because my idea is to teach you the standard, most simple way of doing things. HDRP and universal render pipeline both give fantastic graphics, so I would recommend if you have the time to pump out some graphics, you completely go for it. You can get some really nice looking things from post-processing to custom shaders and all of that kind of thing. But my big thing right now is just teach you the basics. You can also, if you really want to learn more, you can get mobile 2D, micro games, which teach you how to make a game as well, and mobile 3D. All of those are separate that you have to download, but they are great for teaching you basically anything you need to know. So normally you'd press create, but obviously I have mine created, so I'm not going to. and I'm going to open up Unity. When you load up, you'll probably have the light theme. I have the dark theme because dark theme rules in 90% of programs. So, but you will see this screen. This is your basic standard average scene. So what you have here is you have what's called the scene view in the center. That is designed to let you look around the 3D scene, or if you're in 2D, you'll see this, which will show you your 2D screen. You can switch between the two here. So sometimes you have a 2D game like a platformer, but you have a 3D background. So that's how you can switch between those. Then game, this will show you what the camera can see. So right now it's a whole lot of nothing because the skybox is there, and that's going great, that's working great, which is amazing. Over here you have the hierarchy that can show you what is on your screen. So currently I've got the main camera, which I also get a small display over here, and a directional light, which is what's allowing us to see. I'm pressing right click there. That allows me to look around as if I'm in a first person. I can use W, A, S, D, E goes up, Q goes down, just to navigate around. You can use the middle mouse button to pan, or which one is it? You can zoom using the scroll wheel, and if you come up here, my brain is not working, obviously. If you hold Alt, you again can do that. So if you don't have a middle mouse button, I'd recommend using Alt, but right allows you to move, right click allows you to move around. Trying to remember how to orbit. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, some people don't like the taskbar at the top, so I'll move it to the bottom, which is now disturbing for me. But anyway, so that's the scene and game view. They both show you. The scene view allows you to look around. Game view shows you what you'll see in game. The hierarchy shows you what's in the scene currently. Because it's object oriented, everything is based on objects and then the components that those objects have. Which is why the hierarchy is there, so you can see the specific object. So whether that's an empty object, which you can do a whole bunch of things with, or it's a camera which has mostly predefined functions. So next you have the project tab. This is where you put all assets. So currently there's the scenes, which has a sample scene, which I've closed because I'm not using that. And any packages that you use. So this is anything that it wants to use. So I usually have a few installed just to make life easier. Speaking of which, if you come up to the package manager, you'll get to see all of the pre-made Unity packages. So there are things ranging from pixel perfect 2D to mesh editors you can use within Unity, which we are going to be using one package that's in here. It is called a preview package. This preview package has been in use since 2019.2, so it's relatively well established within Unity. It's called ProGrids. Now, I'm going to be using that for level design because it makes life 20 times easier. It also helps when the package manager actually loads. Don't put that one up there. So you can, Unity also is a tab-based layout, so you can change things as much or as little as you'd like. So here you can see, these are the ones I currently have in the project. I can go into the Unity registry, which will then show me all of them. So you can see 2D animation, 2D pixel perfect, 2D sprite shape, everything. So that Cinemachine is a really good one if you want to do cinematics or anything like that. It's really good for that. I'm trying to remember how do I show preview packages again? Edit, preferences, here we go. External tools, yeah, no. This is why I have Google Chrome next to me in case this happens. Preview packages. So I will say Um, in all cases for Unity, Google is your friend every time. It's completely amazing. There are so many people who have done probably very similar things at some point or another. It's gonna be here somewhere. It's somewhere here. I saw it earlier. Anyway, Google is your friend. A lot of people. Oh, it's in project settings, not preferences. That's why I'm being dumb. So a lot of people have tried things. There you go. So you go into project settings, package manager, enable preview packages. It gives you a warning that they're in the early stage of development. Some of them are not as early as they imply they are. Then you can show it's 2D or inverse kinematics, which allows you to do certain different animation things. But the one that we will be using is, if I can read, ProGrids. So you just press install, it installs. All the packages are quite fast, so that's quite a good advantage over most other things where it takes a bit of time for things to install. So I'm just saying thing. Yep. So AB is right. Google is always your friend when working with any kind of software. In this case, with Unity, very much your friend. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've gone to random tutorials by Brackies, who is a fantastic game developer YouTuber who's just recently left YouTube but has left all the content online. They have amazing stuff. I've done it during game jams. You just run in, watch as much as you need to know what you're doing, jump back out. That's pretty much what 90% of things that I've seen are. Yes, I will accept S in the chat for Brackies. Brackies was my second Unity tutor, mainly because I started back in a time when a group called the Tornado Twins did a 100-episode series. Yeah, thank you, Matthew, for the F in the chat. Yep, there we go. F for Brackies. So yes, I'm obviously talking over this while it's uploading, so I will transition you over to my face just so that you aren't seeing having to watch it. So the aim for tonight is to use some of the stuff that was made in the other workshops. So I'm going to be taking at least the car from the 3D modeling 3D art workshop. I was going to do a game involving cars, cats, and Among Us characters, because those were the three things that funnily came out of the 3 different workshops. Unfortunately, there's not a very easy way for them all to work together. Apparently that's just not a easy thing to put together. So instead, what I've decided to do is I'm going to make a simple first-person shooter, including some projectiles and some simple level design. And then from that, you can use any kind of assets. So I've got some crates, I've got the car that I can use, I've got a cat because I thought it'd be funny. And I'm going to teach you how to do basic AI where things can understand if they've been hit and can do wandering around. But we'll get onto that. Now that that's installed, transition back. Here we are. So it'll be installed. It'll say up to date here. That means you know it's done. And I'm just going to close the tab. You can keep it open if you're going to use it again. So over here, I have the console. When you're playing, if you have any major errors, it will let you know. But other than that, there is also the inspector, which shows what you've currently got selected and will give you options. So it's things like, oh, I want this background, I want that background for the camera. But speaking of what we're doing tonight, are we going to make an FPS using Cat Boss Battle? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, yeah. Yeah. So Paul Lister is correct. I know a lot of people that just start with Bracky's tutorials because they're so intuitive, and they do so many topics. Okay, we're going to start with what people consider the most easy thing to do in Unity which is we're going to put in a cube, which is built into Unity, and we're going to have a floor. We're going to start off by making a floor. So you can easily do it by either coming up here to Game Object, you can press the plus button here, or you can right click, and they'll all give you this menu with Create Empty, 3D Object, 2D Object, Effects, Light, Audio, Video, UI, and Camera. So we're going to go into 3D Object, and we're going to create a cube. So this looks pretty big, but if we select the cube, it will give us some options. So I want to place it at, if it will let me click things correctly, 0, 0, 0. And then when you are hovering over here, if you press F while selecting a thing, it will do that. Why is that doing that? Why am my clipping planes being annoying? Set it to dynamic clipping. That's probably just because of my stupid stuff. So if you press F, it will focus in entirely on an object. That's a really handy thing, because sometimes you've done something with a different object, like for example you've got a character that just randomly clips through the floor. You can easily just come to the scene view, press F, and you're zoomed right in on them, and you can see what the heck has just happened there. So I'm going to zoom out a bit. Now I'm going to scale it. So if you're used to Blender, they use what's called the right-handed system. So your X, Y, and Z. Unity uses the left-handed system to make it really complicated. So it's X, Y, nope. Yeah, X, Y, Z. Which, when you're transferring things over, makes it wonderful. But if you just remember that Y is your up and down, Z is your and Z and X are your left and right, or back and forth depending on where you're looking at it. So if I want to make a 10 by 10 floor, I set the X to 10 and I set the Z to 10, Z, Z, whichever one you prefer, and then it's a really thick looking floor at this point. If I go into the game view, you can see it's a pretty thick floor. So I'm going to set it to 0.1, which, oh, I forgot my hotkeys were that way around. I need to not use the numpad. So if I set it to 0.1, it's going to make it a lot thinner. So there you can see it's more of a common thing. I'll actually set this to 25 by 25. Which just gives more room and means that it's going to be covering everything there. So that's a really good start. You've got a floor, and if you press play just to check that this all works, it will, but just to be sure, helps that it doesn't take forever to load the game up, no matter what you're doing. And to play. This is because it's the first time it's playing the game. So you can see we've currently got a floor, which is great. It's a start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a player. So I'm going to first go into that cube, and I'm going to rename it to floor, just so that things stay consistent and you can tell what's happening with what, and you can see in the hierarchy which thing is which. So I'm going to then press 3D Object, and I'm going to make a capsule, which will be our player. So you can see our player is currently stuck in the floor. So if we set his X to 0, Y to 1, and Z to 0, then he's going to be right in the middle. And again, if we press the game view, we can now see we have a capsule, which is the start of a player. It is a bean. So if I drag him up a bit, I can add what's called a rigid body. Now, rigid body is what gives any object in Unity physics. So if I add a rigid body on, you can now see when I press play. Please don't take too long. This shouldn't take too long. Uh, if you have a higher powered laptop than I do, this won't take any time at all. If I press play, you can now see Unity has built-in physics that works all the time. So you can now see that he just fell. So if you... YouTube is telling me it's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Ooh, that sounds bad. Mods, is it not smooth on your end? If it's not, just let me know, and I will see what I can do in OBS to figure it out. So I'm just gonna rename this guy to player. Okay. YouTube's just being annoying. Okay, so I'll just rename this guy to player. So if you don't want to have the mesh, for example, you can remove the mesh renderer, and that will just make it so it's just the capsule by itself. Now, to start with, this may seem slightly strange, and we're going to put the main camera under the player. So now we don't see the player anymore, but we see the main camera. So I'm now going to set its position to 0. Now if I bring the player mesh back in, what you'll see is the camera is now inside the player, and wherever the player goes, the camera will go. So I'm just going to move it up a bit just to show that you are inside the actual head of the player. I'm just going to drag that light up. So directional lights, what's nice about them is that you can put them anywhere. It won't change how things go. But now if I'll drag the player up just so you can feel the physics in play. So what I'll do is it will drop, and you'll see the camera drop at the same time. There you go. Just easy as that. I think I know what the issue is, because it just gave me the warning again. Are my project graphic settings too high to deal with all this? I think they are. Quality. Okay, so you can go in here in quality, and currently I'm on ultra, which is probably why I'm having some issues. It's because it's trying to do it at the highest quality level possible. So I'll set it to high instead for this, which just means it will load things faster. Anyway, as you've seen with the with that there, when the capsule dropped down, the player dropped with it. So you can do things in here with the scale. So you can make this guy 1.5 if you want to. I'm gonna make him 1.25 just to make him a tiny bit, make you feel like you're a tiny bit taller in the overall product. Which we're about to get on to character movement after this one. Yeah. Which is great. So now you feel slightly taller. Oh, the game decided it wanted to stop playing. There are some quirks with Unity. Obviously, it's not working at its best performance right now because I'm working with streaming at the same time, which is just... Recording software is annoying. Also, the Unity editor has to do everything with the UI as well as having to run the game, which means your performance is sometimes lower. So if you are having, say, 15 to 20 FPS in the editor, you'll have 30 plus when you export it. So now that we've got a dropping person, we can get onto the great joys of Unity. Coding. So I'm going to create a script. I'm going to create a folder for scripts first, so you can press create folder. Again, this plus here shows you everything from folders, C# scripts, all the way down to materials, to animation stuff. If ever something tells you to make something, it's 90% of the time going to be in this menu. So I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to rename it to be script. And then I can just press create C# script and I'll name this player movement. So now if I double click player movement, I'm going to open VS Code. So you can use VS Code, Visual Studio. By default, Unity comes with Visual Studio, but personally, Visual Studio takes so long to load up for half of the features that I don't use that I chose to instead set up VS Code. Now, Unity has integration with VS Code through the package manager, like I showed before. So if you use that, you can get a really good really well integrated project, which allows you to open it in VS Code, which loads much faster. So for any of you who've done game jams with Unity before and know the struggle of having 20 minutes waiting for Visual Studio to open, I recommend VS Code. I'd recommend it to anyone. You have to install VS Code separately and set up a few things, but it saves you so much time in the long run. So, Unity is coded in C#. The closest language that I found to it, yes, Matthew, you do get the same autocompleting tooltips in VS Code. So that's because of the integration and me having set it up. There's a really handy, there's a really helpful document and a really good web page, which I will get up. I'll get it while explaining C#. So C# is an object-oriented language. Its closest relation for me is Java, which is, for anyone who doesn't know me and doesn't know how much I love Java, I spent about 3 or 4 years before I started doing game development working with Java. So it was a really good transition if you've done any Java. If you haven't, it's a C language, so it's relatively good. It's static typed. If you're a computing science person, if you're used to Python, it's not close, but there are some basic elements of programming you'll understand and see. VS Code setup. There we go. There you go. If you want to set up VS Code with your stuff at any point, really good link. Sets everything up perfectly so you can use everything. So C# is object oriented, so you work with classes like this one, player movement. Sometimes you will develop a class outside of monobehavior, but monobehavior is Unity's built-in, works as a component. If you make something like, for example, a specific superclass you want to use that doesn't invoke monobehavior, you can add that completely and refer to it in code, just like any other class. But 9 times out of 10, if you're doing something very easy and at the start, you will use monobehavior. So for example, I'm going to go through a basic character movement class using a rigid body. So what we can start with is, because we got this using the Unity engine, if I type in rigid correctly, come on, why is autocomplete not working? My autocomplete isn't working. There we go. It only took it a second. I'm going to create the rigid body RB. So rigid body is just a component which goes as I said, which gives the gravity. So in the start function, start is called on the first frame. So there's various different things like awake. Awake is done before the game even starts. So if you want something to start before anything else, you'd use awake. Start is on the first frame, and update is on every frame. Fixed update is every what is it? It's every so many milliseconds it's ran. So for some things you'd want to use fixed update, for certain things you want to use late update, which is every so many frames, and for some things you'd want to use update. Usually though, if you are working in a game jam context, you'd want to use update 9 times out of 10 and start, which is why they're the two most common and the two that are given when you create the file. So in start, what we're going to do is we're going to initialize the rigid body. So we're going to say RB equals get component. It's not liking me. Get component rigid body. Now what this will do is it will get the component of the rigid body that is on the game object you are currently working with. It does say rigid boy. Thank you, because I'm dumb. Thank you for pointing that out, because otherwise I would have spent an entire age going through and trying to fix that. So yeah, RB equals get component rigid body, not rigid boy. We'll get the rigid body that's on the game object. So what we can do now is we can do if input dot. Oh, come on. Why is the autocomplete not working? Am I going to spend a good 5 minutes trying to figure out why this isn't working? This is the other thing. Unity every once in a while just decides it doesn't like you and wants to do things differently. I have that said. Come on. Why is this not working? Oh. I had it set up 10 minutes ago. Ah. I might have to open. Now it might work. If. Nope. Well, this is going to be a fun one. Time to open the package manager and see if everything's up to date. I promise you this is not how the rest of this will go. I like me some nice rigid boy. Yeah, no, as I said, this is not how the rest of it is planning on going. There's just some very occasional different issues, which, again, most things wouldn't come up. This is just Unity not liking me today in project. There we go. Visual Studio Code Editor has an update. That's why. I knew there was going to be some annoying reason. Yeah. So there we go. I'm having to update another package. I'll speak to you here then. Well, that's updating. Yeah, no, basically most of the it will do autocomplete and IntelliSense, which basically means if you start typing something that it can make sense of, it will make sense of it and do it for you. So things like if you put in, for example, the class input, which is a Unity engine component, it will do it and normally do it fine. Just I was a Dumbo and forgot to update the Visual Studio Code Editor, just like I was a Dumbo and forgot to install Progress. I promise after this, it does become easier. I can't prepare for everything during live stream. It's fine. This one's already looking like a long one anyway. So now that that's updated, I should be able to do if I might have to close and reopen this. I will have to close and reopen this, which is a shame. Okay, close Visual Studio Code. Reopen Visual Studio Code. For those of you who've had to deal with Visual Studio, you will be so thankful that I have taught you this Visual Studio Code trick, because as you can see, Visual Studio Code is open, which Visual Studio would still be a good half an hour away from opening at this point. I'll give it time just to make sure it opens the solution correctly. You came here for Rigid Boy, Sarah. Well, I will give you a Rigid Boy, and that is officially the name of the game. If... Why is that still not working? Try opening the solution, seeing if that helps. It does absolutely nothing. Why is this not working? If come on. Why? Why me? Read through all this. Oh, it's still loading everything up, that's why. I'm being unfair on Visual Studio Code. That's why it's lost all of it. So if input.getKey is what I was trying to do, which will check through all the inputs and check if it will return true if the key is pressed down, and false if the key is returned is not down. I think it's fixed now. Key code dot. Nope. Not quite. Almost there. Come on. Come on. If keycode, if key, input.getKey, keycode dot which one? W. Which means if it's gonna say what? Now it's just being frustrating. Let's try this again. If input.get key, that's going to be a capital, isn't it? That might not be helping. If input.getKey, key code.w. Oh, I might have to close and reopen this all again. Unity, why are you doing this to me? I'm just trying to teach the people how to do an FPS. I didn't even choose the hard thing. It had to be frustrating. I'm actually going to close Visual Studio Code again. Ugh. Why must it be frustrating? Hopefully this time. Please. Please. I'm just asking one simple thing. I hope I'm not asking too much. If this comes up with an error when it loads the color, I'm done. RB dot. Why is it not working? Just one question. Oh, still configuring and still loading everything in again. Yes, I am checking my own thing that I said was great to make sure it's all working. Definitely got the package installed, so I have no clue what's going on. If any of the mods really want to help and help me... Oh, this is looking slightly more promising. Almost there. I can feel it. It's building everything. Oh, yes. Of course. So, in the overall Unity programming API, I'll actually bring up something that's really helpful for this. Overall, Unity is quite good about keeping everything up to date for everything. In terms of its manual, a really good thing within Unity itself is that it takes it makes a lot of really good what am I trying to say? Brain needs to work. Overall, as a game engine, it works really well at making it easy for you to work with other parts of your game. So say one part needs to be worked on for a specific reason because it's not working for this thing, or for one reason or another, it's quite good at getting things together. So if you make a thing like the player movement script that we're making, it's good at getting things all together to allow you to use that and reference it in other scripts. What am I trying to say? My brain is not working. It's really good at why is my brain not working now? It's really good at allowing you to do that, and also I will quickly show you this while I am sorting things out. The manual is completely up to date. You can easily go in and find something. So this is the main manual for overall, and this is the scripting API. So if you ever have any, like say for example, you're wanting to know, how do I do this with a rigid body, for example, you can go into Unity Engine and find the things in there, or the Unity editor if you know kind of what you're doing. But if you just type in rigid body, helps if I can spell. I can't even spell in here. So you type in rigid body, it will go through and find the closest match you're looking for. Usually it will find rigid body quite easily because a rigid body is so commonly used. Searching script reference, please wait. But again, it will go through and you can find references to rigid body, all the methods that it uses. So the one that I will be using, rigid body.add force. You can use it overall. It's quite good about being up to date, and you can very much know everything that's going on with it overall. So it's, yeah, overall as a tool, the everything works really well. I'm about to have to start using the scripting manual if it gets to this point. Yeah. So I'm going to open up this play movement one more time. If it doesn't work, I'm going to just have to do this from memory, and this is going to go so fantastically. I promise you, it's not usually this slow. It's just me streaming and the world deciding it doesn't like me just now. Hopefully this will work. Okay, doesn't seem like it's working, so I'll just do it. So I'll just do here rb.add force. Let's see if I can find a good. So rigid body.add force, which is taking the referenced rigid body, so the rigid body of the current object that this is on, and it's adding a force to it because everything is worked through the physics engine. So you can, if I can remember the overloads for it, good thing this is loaded that up. So you get specific different ways you can add force through the method, but you don't have to add any kind of reference to what kind of force is it. You just have to add in a vector 3, which is a force. So in this case it will be a new vector 3, and then it will be 0f, 1f, 0f, and that will give you ignore that. So this will add a force. Oh, that's in the y direction. I did that wrong. 0f. So in this case, I'll just use this as an example. Now what this will do is this will once this all loads up, so every time you open it, it will refresh the database. So if you, anytime you add an asset in or anything, it will reset. So I'll just close the package manager. So if I take the player and add the player movement script onto them, I can either drop it on there, drop it on the player there, or just directly put it over here. I'm just going to drop it on the hierarchy, which is more common for me. So now I've dropped that on, you'll see it's down here, and if I press play, and just give it a second to load this up. So now once I drop to the ground, if I press W, oh, it did the thing. So sometimes you'll have an issue where that happens. In that case, you just press freeze rotation on all of these, apart from the Y-axis, which will just mean you won't fall over like I just did there. So now it's just loading everything up again. Again, apologies for the slowness on it. It's all due to the differing amount of CPU I can assign to each thing, which is just annoying. But once this guy falls, if I press W, it's going to tell me I did something wrong. Oh, the great joys. I will just open VS Code again. I believe, if I'm now correct, I should be able to type rb dot or nah, it's not working. You're gonna get me talking to you for another minute while I try and figure out how to get this all to work while it's being annoying. It should be working fine, and I don't understand why it's not, but that's yeah, it's not working. Sorry everyone, again, I don't know what's happening here. I'm really trying. I'm so sorry, everyone. Yeah, I can only apologize for this. Oh, I think I just realized the dumb thing I did, and I think that's yeah, no, Matthew, it is a tough situation, but I think I've just remembered how I did it, because sometimes there are issues with these kind of things, and it just takes a second just to do things. So I'll show you what I'm trying. Again, just highlighting the great importance of everything here. I found this online. This is everything. So yeah, if I deselect everything and press regenerate project files, hopefully this will fix the issue. Then close VS Code and reopen it, and hopefully this should all work, and IntelliSense will start working, making everything much easier. Otherwise I'd have to open Visual Studio, which I don't know if I still have installed because it was slowing my computer down. rb dot no. Right, we're going back into that again. Really trying. You normally would not have this issue at all. Embedded packages, local packages, registered packages. I'm just going to select everything except for packages from unknown sources, and then press regenerate project files and hope that this works. So that's them regenerated. If not, then I will start loading up Visual Studio, which is the best I can do, because otherwise I'm going to be here for another hour or so trying to figure out what the heck is going on. I'll give that a second to update itself. So if it doesn't work this time, I will load up Visual Studio, which I believe I still have on my computer, which I will just check now just in case. Again, completely not my plan. This was working like an hour ago, so I have no clue, unfortunately, what's going on with it or why it's having so many issues. But it's all trying to load up this time. I'll check and make sure I have everything just in case I need to switch over to Visual Studio. Yeah, I do. It will just take longer to load the first time. But it seems to be loading fine now because everything's reloading. So yeah, I'll briefly explain what the rest of the time is going to be. For anyone who is coming in now, I will probably go back and add an annotation previously that will, who's watching this on demand, that will skip all this, because this is has been what? Oh no, I'm looking at the time. It's been so long of debugging. We haven't even got a character moving yet. Oh, I am so sorry, everyone. Luckily, after this, everything else runs smoothly because the coding side of things is done in terms of loading things up, and yeah, I promise everything will run smoothly. I have plans to use Visual Studio in case everything goes wrong. What can I talk about during this time? So after we've done the character movement, yeah, Matthew got it right. Accurate of most game development. 1 minute of coding, 1 hour of debugging. Trust me when I say it could have been much worse than just an hour, because I know Visual Studio works, luckily. Unfortunately for me. Is that me getting a whole bunch of buzzers from people? No. That's the news. So this is the other thing. Programming. Complex. As Matthew said, it is. You will spend most of your time in a game jam debugging or going through issues like this. I once had it where I didn't save anything for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes to half an hour. And I lost everything because of a crash. Yes, I will do that. While that's loading up, I will show you how to import assets. I'll get onto that's stuff I should have got onto. So, as you can see, I've got here a few things that I plan on using during this. So what you can do is you can go into your assets folder, and any assets you have, if you have them in a folder, if you have them individually, you can just select them all, drag them into your project, and it will load them all in. Every single one. Meaning you don't have to deal with this, that, the other. It'll just take a second for everything to load in, but once it's done, you can close your file explorer, whichever one you're planning on using, and then you can start getting everything else ready. Yes, that was me just checking whether VS Code was working. I'm going to move that over there just in case I can get it working. No. So what? This is how long things take in rough sense. Oh, what is that doing? Something else just decided it wanted to take over for a second. Oh. Just taking a second because the 3D models from the workshop. So we're waiting again. So that's how you bring in assets. Yeah. It takes a bit of time usually for assets to come in. No matter how hard you try. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's not the most amount of things I can do beyond just trying my best to get things to load faster. Amadeus, I blame you. Your very high detailed and fantastic looking models are taking so long to load in. There we go. That's that done. Again, I'm so sorry everyone that this is how it's going so far. Again, not my plan for the night, but it never is when you are programming. You end up spending all the time on everything. So there we go. There's all the assets brought in. I can now close that out. So we've got all these assets that it's now refreshing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the level design section first before I do the character movement. Again, wasn't my plan, but what am I going to do when I'm already over an hour? I got to start doing something. Again, I would like to apologize to you all. It's fine. Your car is impeccable. So we'll do the level design side of things first. So I'm going to start off by using something from here, which is just a very simple wooden crate, which for some reason is purple. Don't understand why it's purple. But I'll take it. It works. So you can easily rotate things just by pressing up here, and so if you're up here with the move tool, you can come over here and use rotate, which can give you a 3D sense of what you're rotating. You can also press here and get scale, which means you can scale things up. But if you scale things up, make sure to move them up so that they still are working. You can press Control D to get a second version, a duplicate, or you and delete just deletes, or you can press Control C, Control V, and you get the same effect. But what's quite nice is Unity will let you just drag things on. So if you aim up here, it will drag it mostly there, and then you can just add and tweak it around. So there you go. You got a very simple box. Where ProGrids is nice is if I turn on ProGrids and I move an object in and say put it at 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, which will put it roughly in a place. I can now use, if I put the grid at a decent place, it will now not snap to the grid. Which SKDs do I recommend? I don't know what you mean by SKDs. Do you mean SDKs? SKDs. I think. Did I press the Why do I keep pressing the transition button? I'm just so used to using my numpad for other things. Why is this not working? That should be working. What? What? Why is everything breaking on me today? Everything had to break on me today. So anyway, you can use normally the grids, which will snap everything to things. Oh, why is everything breaking on me today? Or if you're in global mode, you can use Unity's built-in one, which will just snap it to the nearest one, which is really nice and handy if you are doing something like you want a tiled part to your game, or say you're using cube to make a wall, for example. So say you want a wall that's 5, I'll go 6 to make life easier. You want a wall that's 6 high and 10 along the Z. You can then just move it into place, and then you have a very simple wall with collision. You can then duplicate it. Say you want another wall, but you want it just slightly offset. So then you've got a basic hallway set up. So that's one thing I was using the boxes for from the 3D. Oh, I forgot about this. Oh, I did this wrong. Yeah, Amadeus made this fantastic looking 3D model, but it unfortunately lags out my computer. I'm realizing too much, so I'm using a small little bit in the car, which if I just take the car out. Oh, why is everything breaking on me? Right, I'm not using the car. Everything's breaking. So I'll go into another part that I was going to say for later, but because my programming things are being terrible, I get to show you now. So I'm going to make this 50 by 50 just so I have some space. So as you can see, there's these dark sections from the main ambient light here. That's because it's a directional light. A good other type of light to add in is if you go into light, point light, it will make a area light up based on where it's placed. So you can set it to be, for example, range of 100. Move it up slightly. You can change the intensity, which will change how bright or dark it is. If you change it above 1, it can really wash out your scene if that's something you want. I'm going to set this one to 0.5, which will give just a nice feel. You can also change the color of the light. So say you want a blue light. You can also do the same with intensity here. So I'll set this to 0.25, just so I get a nice look at the effect of this. You can also say you're making a corridor and it's got a light over at the side. You can easily just make it a light over there that's very visible. If you've got a 3D model of a lantern or a torch, etc. So yeah, that's one way of doing things. Is this working, or am I going to have to open? No, I'm going to have to open. Okay. Right. If you I'm going to open. I'm going to set things to work with Visual Studio, so then we can do the programming side of things for everyone. So that's the lights. You can also get a spotlight, which will do a specific area that you select. For example, over here, I will do a spotlight on this wall, which you can then rotate. Oh, wrong way. Helps if I remember that. I can rotate tool. If you rotate the right way, then you can have it say on a wall. You can then set the range of it, so you can set it to be further, which means it'll be more bright. You can change the angle, which will set how wide it is. And again, the intensity, the color can all be changed, so you can change it to say a red, but then have it really intense, so then it's like a warning light in a specific area. And say you're doing something where you're visually having enemies see things, this is one good way of having them look at specific areas. So now that that's done, we can get onto the player. I will open the player movement scripts while talking you through what we're doing, because it's going to take some time, and I'll answer Magno's question. SDK wise, Unity comes with Android SDK, or the default Android one you can get through Unity itself when you install it. So that's just an easy way to do it that way. It will, and then what works really nicely is if you want to build something for mobile, whichever one you want to say. Otherwise, you can quite easily just port it, because Unity allows you to build for any kind of system. Right, I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do. We're gonna try and get the player moving around first. Then I'll do basic camera for you, which will take the horizontal and vertical inputs, and it will make a it will rotate the player overall. Yeah, again, I would like to sincerely apologize to you all that it's taken so long for me to try and get coding working. My brain just, unfortunately, I'm not some kind of supercomputer that remembers every single little individual detail of Unity's different like core functionalities. If I was, I would be much more of a whiz at this. So if I was, this would be a lot faster. So yeah. I'm just trying to stall while Visual Studio loads, because it's currently not responding. As you can tell, I don't often stream while doing game dev, because Unity can be very taxing on your computer if you have a older machine like I do. I'm working off a 4th generation processor, so it's old. Some people, as they mentioned at the very beginning, my computer is on its last legs. So I will say though, it's really good for developing a whole bunch of games if you've never done it before, because it's so good at giving you options, and especially the tutorials that they do for Unity itself are really good and teach you a lot about what you can do with the software. I've seen all types of games be made, from racing games to first-person shooters to whatever you can think of, basically. If you can think of it, you can pretty much do it with Unity. Normally when someone says that, you're like, but again, this time, in this case, I would say it's a fairly accurate statement. If you can think of it, Unity probably gives you a way that you can do it. And I think we might have it loaded. We might actually have a way to do some coding. Finally, the one thing that Unity is really good for as a game engine is usually the coding and how intuitive it is. Apart from tonight. it's decided it doesn't want to be intuitive in the slightest. So yeah, again, I can only sincerely apologize that it's taking this long to get to this point, but hopefully once Visual Studio loads, it will be much faster and a much better experience overall. Thank you to the mods who have been messaging me being like, what's going on? This is a hard situation. I know, I feel it. And thank you for just making sure that I'm not going insane at the same time. You say you're ready. It says it's ready down there. You can just see it. You can just see it say, oh, it says ready. Yeah, it still takes its time. Unfortunately, I would love to say it's really fast on load up, but everything just takes its time with Unity, unfortunately. So I'd like to thank you all for your patience. Thanks to all of you who are still here, because I know that it's been a bit of a wondrous joy. Thanks to the 7 of you who are still here from the first, however long it's been. What's that now? An hour and nearly an hour and a half. The stream's been up. So just to show you, I've just made this little hallway just so we can show the movement and highlight some of this, and hopefully I will have something resembling a first-person shooter within the next 45 minutes. I'm giving myself that time limit. It's the best I can do. Come on. Stop trying to load all the stuff. It's being thorough and making sure that everything works, but at this point I just want to get working on the stuff to show you, so then you guys can actually get something more useful than me just yelling at Unity to work for this entire time. Everything's still initializing. Ugh. So. Oh. Did I? I think I know what I did wrong. I think I know what I did wrong now. Don't think I originally opened the C# project. If this on my other screen is faster, all I'm going to say is VS Code over Unity, over Visual Studio, 9 times out of 10. Again, I would really like to apologize to everyone that it's taken this long, and thank you for your patience, those of you who are still here and have been patiently waiting for me to get my crap together. I understand it's a stressful thing if you're trying to learn something and then I'm here with things that aren't working. So yeah. Luckily though, I figured out how to stop it from having an issue. So yeah. I'm gonna do the nice thing, which this lovely Among Us character was made by Melania yesterday in her Intro to 2D Art workshop, and it looks amazing considering that she did this just without even much thought to what's happening. So I'm going to use that to show you how to make a simple UI. So the easiest way to show UI is by using the game view. If you just right click and go to UI, you can see a whole bunch of things. Now I'm going to add an image. You can see it adds a few things called a canvas and then an image. So what that does is it makes a canvas, which if I show you in here, looks like this in the scene view. It can sometimes look a bit weird. You have to go on this side of it for it to be the correct way around. But that is a representation of the entire screen. So you can see if I switch back and forth, you'll see that. So, but if you go into game, it's quite easy to see. It adds an event system, which is just to see the input that you do from just every basic thing. So if I go into image though, you'll see that I have some options here, like a source image, a default material. I can create a, where is it? Sprite Atlas. I thought my kitten just walked in the door, which would be funny. Yes, I know it's you.
Can I have borrow your small laptop?
Yes.
Where's that?
Downstairs.
Okay, sorry. Is there a password?
Yes. I'll text you it. Ladies and gentlemen, live streaming. I thought that might happen at some point. Oh, I knew I should have locked the door. So what I will do is I will quickly finish this. So if you click image and then select all of these, how do I do this? Create. If I just go into the scene, if I focus on the main camera, which also shows me the player, and I put these on into here, it should theoretically make me a animation here. And I'll just save it as Among Us Walk. So now when I get into the game, it should. Oh, I press play. Oh, it's having an issue. Refresh. That should fix the issue we had. What is the issue? 1814. What? I have no clue what it's implying the issue is. Visual Studio has decided to not work. Yes. So I'm going to bring back over Visual Studio Code and hope that my memory is good enough to remember everything I need to remember for this to work. So there we go. There's the issue fixed. If I press play, which will load everything up, then you'll see that the Among Us guy is walking around. If I just, so you can change things while in the scene view. So I can just go to this wooden crate and just move it over, and now you can see he's looking kind of sus, isn't he? So what I can do now is I can just take, so you can take things like sprites like that, which is in here, and you can place them onto an image like so. Don't believe I can, yeah. So you can place a sprite into here, which will mean that the image is down there. You can then set the width and height to be whatever you want it to be. So I'll go with this one because it's the funniest in my opinion. So I'll just set it to 180 by 100, and there you go. You've got a small little Among Us character over by your side, just there. So you can do that with things like health. You can also add a text in, which is just say you want it to be your name. So I'll just choose Oster, which is a name I've used forever and ever. And I'll just set it to 24. And you can move the image up and down using the X position, Y position. So I'll just put him there. Get the text, set its color down here. So I can change that to a white, for example, which means it's not going to be seen in the horizon. But if I just move it down, move it across, sorry, and move it down like so, you'll see that it's a very simple little way of just displaying information on the screen. So hopefully this is now working. Okay, rb.add force. No, I'm gonna do. So you can either use the rigid body or you can do transform, not transform, because that's not a word. Transform.position equals a new vector 3. Transform.position.x, then transform.position. It's not full autocomplete. It's if it was full autocomplete, I would have everything correct, but unfortunately, it's not as great. So what it can do is I can just add 0.1f, and then so it's gonna be the weirdest FPS movement ever, but the fact that we're getting anything at this point is great. So you can do minus. Oh, was that the start of a autocomplete I saw? Oh, bah! My obsession with using the numpad. I'll just move my microphone out of the way slightly. So if I use plus here 0.1 f, and then down here I'll just do minus 0.1 f, which should give me the right stuff. Hopefully now if I use input, is that, oh my, got autocomplete working finally. Hopefully this will now work. This shouldn't have any issues, and it will be a very strange it'll be a very strange movement system for the moment. But hopefully if I, nope, what did I do wrong? If input.get key code. Yeah. That should work. Nice, is this working now? Oh, autocomplete is now working. rb.add force. Okay. I'm now just going to make sure I've done this right. Okay. I'm going to do okay. Gonna try this right. So rather than this input.getKey, which is just me being an old school Unity developer, the actual way to do it is through this input manager, which you can see they have some basic ones already in, which include horizontal, vertical, mouse X, and mouse Y. So that makes life 20 times easier. So what you can do is you can do rb.move position, and what you want to do is you want to set it to rigid body dot rotation times by quaternion. So all rotation in Unity is done with quaternions. Usually you don't want to edit them directly because they have 4 values, which just makes them a bit more difficult to follow. So usually you want to use what's called Euler angles. Tell the non-mathematician here. So this will then make it easier. So now you want to do a new vector 3. Oh, this makes life 20 times easier. 0 input dot get axis, which is how you get the axes that we just saw. And then for this one we want to do mouse X, which will give the mouse X position, multiplied by mouse sensitivity, which I will set at some value like 0.25f, and then do 0. And if I put a semicolon at the end of that, that should be fine. Increasing argument with can I convert from quaternion to vector 3? What? Quaternion dot Euler. What? What's going on? That's that. Oh, that's the rotation, because I can't read the code which I found to help me, because I forgot how to do this after dealing with everything. So that's the rotation. Now you want to do the moving of the position. So you want to do transform dot position, which will get the position of the transform component. So the transform component applies to every 3D object that you see. So transform position plus transform dot forward. So transform dot forward gives you the forward vector of your of the object. So that will be no matter what, you'll know what's forward, what's backwards. It can figure that out. And now if you do multiply by input dot get axis vertical, which is W and S, it will now give you that. And then I'm going to up here, if you give a variable the modifier public, you can then edit it in the inspector or through another class. So in this one I'm going to give public float move speed, and I'm going to by default set that to 0.5f. I'll also do that for the mouse sensitivity. Which I'm going to set to 0.2f. as I did down here. Is that how you spell sensitivity? No, it is not. Pardon my terrible... Oh, 0.25, sorry. Pardon my terrible writing. I'm just trying to get enough down for you guys that you can understand the basics of everything. So that's the position for the forward. Now you're going to copy the exact same thing, and you're going to say plus, repeat it, but this time it will be transform.right multiplied by horizontal. Just to make sure I spell that right, I'm going to copy that over, times by move speed, and that will now give you a really good basic movement overall. So now if I press play, hopefully... Oh, wait, I should... Not project settings, preferences. I turned off the auto refresh, so if you are trying just to quickly go back and forth between things without wanting to refresh, you can turn off auto refresh here. This is also where you can change the theme, for example. But now I can auto refresh or just refresh by pressing Control R or right clicking and pressing refresh. But now if I press play, hopefully, please work. It has been too long working on this for it not to work. It's going to do this. So, and it didn't work. Input axis mouse X is not set up. Well, that's because I'm a dummy and can't read. So if I go back into project settings and input manager, I can see, oh, it's meant to have a space in between. And so what it'll do is it will tell you very clearly if there are any errors. Just like that. And what I can do is I can now, once this refreshes, I think this is because of the model, so I might have to remove that in a second. Otherwise it's going to take this long every time. I'm just going to remove that 3D model. Sorry, Amadeus. I know. I think you're still in here. I really would love to have used your stuff, but it's causing all the issues. So if you press in the console, you'll see all the errors here, and if you double click, it will tell you where the issue is. But you can press clear, get rid of any ones that aren't compiler errors. Compiler errors will always stay. So if I just put my mouse in the center, hopefully we should now have a very basic movement. So then in the last 20 minutes, yep. So now I can see I need to turn the mouse sensitivity up, and the walking speed is really nice. Have to do that. So you can see the mouse sensitivity is really low. Some people like playing games this way. I really don't. But you can see that it works really well. It will track my mouse even if it's not on, but I can turn that sensitivity up just by going to the player. And if I scroll down, you can now see move speed and mouse sensitivity there. So if I set that to example for just 1, just to see what it's like, you can easily just go back and forth between everything you do while the game is playing will be reset. So if you know that something needs changed, so like I can set it here to like 5, and then for me that's a great one, but normally I would then allow people to change it in the game settings. So I'll set that to 5, and I'll just set the move speed to 0.75. Yes, Matthew, movement is so satisfying after all that. So what I'm going to do now is, as you saw my movement, my cursor was moving all around for that. for an FPS, you'd normally want the cursor locked to the center. Quite easily, you can do that by just in the update. In the update here, you can just add this simple little line with 2 lines of code, which will just allow it, which is the screen class exists, and you can also use that to, for example, get the screen width and height, I believe. Sorry. Cursor.lock state equals. Trying to remember what lock state is. Cursor.lock_mode.lock. So you set this on the else sorry here. So I just press Alt to move those up and down if you don't do that. And then up here I would do .none. Then it's not confined or locked in any way. Again, just press Alt to move that up there. And then you can also do cursor.visible, and you can set it to true here and then false here, and this will lock your cursor and set it to be in the center at all times, and it will make it invisible, meaning that your cursor won't move around, which will make life easier. But when you press escape, your cursor will be visible and it will no longer be locked, which just means then you can do edits. But usually you do that for like a pause menu, or if you've got something like an inventory or anything like that. But now if I press play, hopefully, but if you're not clicked onto Unity when that happens, you then it won't lock. So you'll see that mine is just floating around still. But if I click on, it's now locked into the screen. I can now move around, and currently we've got movement, and you can see all the things I said about the lighting is here. You can see more up close and personal, our friend the Among Us guy. You'll be able to walk through these for just now, but you will not. Oh, why can you walk through that? You shouldn't be able to walk through anything. But collision is. Oh, there you can see. We were in that for a bit, but then something's going on with the collision. I'm not gonna touch it at this point because I have no clue what's happening. So you can freeze the rotation here because you're changing the rotation, which then means you won't do any random weird physicsy things. Okay, I've got 15 minutes left. I want to do basic projectiles for you guys because I said I was going to make an FPS. I dang well want to do an FPS. So you can see collisions did work, but then for some reason are not fully working. So you can clip through the walls. Okay, so now we're going to add in a quick shooting mechanic. And I promise when I say quick, I mean quick. So first I'm going to add in this guy. So you can see this guy is huge. So I'm going to set a scale to 0.5 by 0.5 by 0.5, which should make him more in line, maybe 0.25. 0.25, 0.25, or 0.35 because I can't read. Which this should be perfect in terms of sizing. So if you press Control when rotating, you will be locked to every 15 degrees, I believe it is. So now if we go into game, what we can do is we can move it on the X, the Y, and the Z, and we can see, oh look, it doesn't look quite right. So what if we put it at 0.5 again? Oh look, that to me feels more right. And yes, I'm doing it all through that. So if I go into metal here, you can see that it has all these weird different things that I didn't ask to be in here. So if I go into metal here, I can just... I did the wrong one, didn't I? Oh, no. So if you press create material, you will make a material. So in this case, I'm going to call it gun. And over here, I have the different textures. So for the base texture, you would put it into albedo. For the... which one is that? I think that's the metallic. So metallic, you'd put in metallic, which will just give it more texture. For the height, again, you put it in height. Sometimes they give different names, so height may be something else. That one's roughness. This one's really well done for this. So this one doesn't have a roughness, so you don't use that one, but for a normal map, you add that there. And then what you can... oh, fix now. Sometimes it doesn't, you need to set it specifically as a normal map. Then what you can do is you can go into the model. So in this case, I just press the drop down arrow and I get to the mesh renderer. In here, I can drag my thing and put it into element 0, or you can just drag it onto the model and it will add it as a component. I'm going to drop this onto the player, meaning now the player has a giant gun, giant from this point of view, but when you go into the game, obviously it doesn't look a looking gun, which will follow around the player. So that's the start of something. You can then go around and show off with your fancy gun, which as you can see reacts just lights, which is really nice. It makes it look a bit more realistic if that's what you're going for, but again, you don't have to. So what I'm going to do from here is quick projectile, and I'm going to make this Among Us sprite our unwilling victim by adding a box collider, which you can see here is huge on him. So you can change the sizing to be, say for example, maybe more 4, the height more 4 as well, and then the depth is perfect. So then now if you hit him, you can now have something collide with him. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a I'm going to create a empty game object, which you can see here just has nothing, no components attached to it other than transform, which everything has, and I'm going to position it at the end of the gun, so then it looks like when you shoot something it will be shot from the gun. So I'm going to call this shoot point, and now I'm going to create another script. Luckily everything's set up this time, so it will be fast. I'm going to create a C# script called shooting, and I'm going to double click on that. Now what this will do is it was going to take in, I don't know if any of you can tell, I'm going a bit faster because I want to make sure that I get this done. So I'm going to add in a public game object. Now every object within the scene is a game object. So, and this is going to be shoot point, and I'm going to add a public game object projectile. So the projectile will be obviously the thing that's shot. Because it's public, you can refer to it in the inspector, so you don't need to add in the start state, anything to the start statement. And all we're going to simply do is we're going to do game object fired is going to equal instantiate. Sorry, wait. Game object dot instantiate Let's try that again. Dot instantiate. Now if you hover over it, you can see that there's a few options. You can do object original position rotation. So in this case, I'm going to say the original is the projectile. The position is shoot point dot transform dot position, and the rotation will be shoot point dot transform dot rotation. So there you go. That will then fire the object. If you want to add some velocity to it, you can do fired dot get component. In this case, we're going to be getting a rigid body, and we're going to do dot add force. Oh, sorry. Move position is going to be transform dot position plus transform dot forward times, and then I'll add a thing called bullet speed up here, which will be a float, public float bullet speed. So there you go. That's a simple script done at the right amount of time. Oh, I apologize to all of you who had to endure my painful other times trying to do the scripting when it was not that fast. So now I can add shooting here onto the player. I can go in and I can see, oh look, we need a shoot point. There's shoot point. Now we need a projectile. I'm gonna add a very simple one. So if I create a sphere and I put it at 0, 0, 0, just so that I can see it. You can see it's quite big. I'll make it 0.2, 0.2, 0.2, and then I'm gonna add quickly a thing to it. So I'm gonna add effects, particle system, and you can see it makes this beautiful particle system that I'm gonna very, very quickly edit to be very, very easy and simple, solely for the reason of this is getting way beyond my original amount of time that I had. And then I'm going to make that 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. So it's now going to be this beautiful little trail of a bullet. There are many things you can add on this. I would recommend entirely you watch Bracky's tutorial. He has a full one where he goes through absolutely everything you can do. As I said, I'm just doing the quickest version possible of it. So yes, completely watch every tutorial by him for this. It's amazing, and it yeah, it will really, it's a very easy way to make things look really good in your game. So no, that wasn't mods, that was my phone just being annoying. So what we can do here is we can just call this bullet, and what I can do is you can go in here, assets, I'll create a new folder called prefabs, and then what you can do is you can take this bullet, oh, not the Among Us demo walk, take the bullet, you can drag it in here, drop it, and what it will do is it will create what's called a prefab. This allows you to reference things in code. So then if I come up to the player, it says projectile, I'll just put in the bullet speed, I'll say 3, so it's faster than the player. Oh, I realized the thing I forgot to do. If input dot if why is this going so badly? Oh. If input dot get mouse button down and then 0, which is the left mouse button, then it will fire. So good thing I did that before I started the game, otherwise we would have just had a torrent of bullets appearing. And I'm now at 3 minutes. We're going to go slightly over the 2 hours, which means it's going to be officially the longest of the workshops. Shock Horror, the Unity one, ended up breaking. Again, normally you wouldn't have these kind of issues during a game jam. I'm just rushing and, of course, having all these issues. So there you go. You can see. Oh, I forgot something. And this is what's great about prefabs is you can double click a prefab and it will show you the prefab no matter what. So you can then go in and edit things. I forgot to add the rigid body. So if I add the rigid body, I'm going to set its mass all the way down, which means it will fly really far. Now if I press back and I press play, you'll see that it will now be able to go into the rigid body and move its position forward, which means we'll have a working bullet, which means I've done more than I thought I would when everything was going wrong. So if I right click, well, that's just great. Of course it doesn't quite work. That was my mistake. Need to check off use gravity. And hopefully this time it will work. Yeah, I know. I should have seen that coming. As soon as I did it, I knew it was going to happen. I knew something was going to go wrong. While they're standing still, that's at least better. What did I do wrong? Oh. I know what I did. It needs to be a faster bullet speed. So I'll make it 30. Hopefully that will make it possible. Then it'll be more good. You're very welcome, all of you who are still left watching me struggle my way through this. There we go. That's better. You can see they went about that far. But that's better than nothing. So now that happens, what I can do is I can quickly make a script for them so then they can kill the unfortunate Among Us guy. We are now the imposter. So I'm going to call this bullet. Hopefully once this is done, so all I'm going to do for this one is update. Oh, no. So with collisions, what you can do is you can do void on collision enter. And then it will take, what does collision on collision enter take? Oh, my brain is not working. My brain is not working because I had to deal with everything that happened the first time. There we go. Collision, hit. So this happens when a collision occurs. So I can check if hit dot other, which will give me the not other. No, it's not other anymore. Dot transform dot game object, which will give me the game object that was hit. So I can do that dot compare tag, which I'll explain in a second. Enemy. You want to then destroy, which will just delete the game object. Hit dot transform dot game object. And no matter what, if it collides with something, you want to destroy game object, which will destroy the game object of this thing. Meaning, if you have a really particle heavy projectile, it will still be destroyed. So compare tag is a good way to check if something is what you want it to be. So usually in some programming languages you say dot equals, but in or equals equals. In Unity though, because everything is components, you then have to find the overall game object for it, and with collisions it's much easier to work with those kind of things. I'm going to first go in and turn quickly down the bullet speed so we can kind of see it do this. So all you have to do is go up here and tag. It'll say untagged. You can then add a tag. In this case I want to add the tag enemy. It has to be spelt the exact same way, typed in the exact same font. Then all I have to do is press play, and hopefully as long as this works. If this works, we'll add in some music just as a celebratory thing. If I hit why is it not hitting it? Why is it not hitting it? I think it's because it's not a... Yeah. Oh wait, what did I set to the... What did I set to be an enemy then? Oh, I didn't go in. So then once you've done that, you have to come back in and set it as an enemy. But that should have collided with it. I'll add a rigid body to it, which then means it will definitely hit. And once this hits, we'll add some celebratory music, which you'll be able to hear. Hopefully not louder than me, but you'll be able to hear. And then hopefully we're going to be good, and that will be the workshop finally over. And I apologize to you all if and it didn't hit. Well, you'll see that destroyed it. That didn't, because it didn't collide. It's glitchy. I tried. It's quite glitchy. So normally that would work. I think it's just because of the way the overall sprite system works. But it is what it is. I will quickly show you how you add in music. So you just go in audio source. So audio sources give you the option of either playing it within a specific range. So if I go to 0, 0, 0, it allows you to either play it in a specific range, or you can say it is a... Where is it? Where is it? I'm blind. So you can mute it. You can bypass effects, bypass listener effects, play on awake, and loop. In my case, I'm going to use Cat Boss theme, which is just an audio clip. I just add that in there. So it's volume. I'll bring it down a tiny bit so you can hear things. and then yeah, if I remember correctly, you can drag out how far the minimum distance and the maximum distance that they can hear. You can do linear roll-offs. You can do various different things which will change how much you can hear from a specific area. So if you want to do any creepy kind of things, this is completely a way you can do it. But because the minimum maximum distance is really far, it won't make a difference. If I press play, you'll hear Matthew's fantastic music. If this once this plays. So there you go. This is the fantastic first-person shooter I was promising at the beginning of this. Obviously, if you have more time, then things become a lot easier to do. This was rushed, especially because of the issues I was having with the what's it called? With the brain needs to work with the coding. So I would like to thank you all so much for watching and staying on through all of this. I know it's been a long one and that for a long time things weren't working, but we got something in the end. Hopefully you all learned something and you will come and join the game jam tomorrow. I know I'm sure excited for it because it's our first online one. It's the first time that I think all of the committee are getting to participate because of the way the theme is being selected, which means that we can actually join in with you guys, which is really nice, and gives us an opportunity to meet you all and introduce you properly to the society. I hope you found this somewhat helpful, if not just for showing you that set up your stuff beforehand, have it completely set up and everything definitely working 100%, or at least it's told you don't try and stream Unity development on a potato. So with that, I would like to thank you all. Come join the game jam tomorrow, sign up on our itch. I'm sure someone will be spamming that tomorrow. Come meet some people, have some fun, make some games, play some games afterwards. We'll be hosting some small events throughout to keep people engaged like we would if we were in person. Obviously we can't be, but please enjoy everything this weekend. If you can't come this weekend, then we hope to see you for next semester's game jam. I am glad that this has helped anyone. If it has, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your very much shorter evening. And yeah, all the best, everyone. Bye.